Friends, today's NRI Samai program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamai@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Friends, this is your host for today's show, Srihari Atluri on NRSMI. Today we have an incredible guest. His name is Dr. Shaikh Ghulam Rasool. He has been an RTI activist in Jammu and Kashmir, and we'll know about the update and the status of the RTI activism in Jammu and Kashmir, and also we'll talk about other things that Dr. Shaikh is working on. And to tell you, he has also an incredible journey, so we'll know more about it right from him. Dr. Shaikh Ghulam Rasool, welcome to NRHMI.
Thank you, Srihari. In fact, the journey of RTI activism started here almost in 2005. So I was working as a medical officer in rural areas, so it was day-to-day life with the rural people. It was very pretty and miserable. They were not getting their entitlement. So then I decided to work for them. Then there were some people who were grabbing their schemes, their entitlements. Then we started with one more doctor, Dr. Muzaffar Das, and we started to help the people and to help them to get their ration cards, their certificates, tribal certificates, backward area certificates, and this widow pension, old age pension, and of course health entitlement. Then once we were handling one case from a village called Brenawar, so it happened to visit our here law enforcement agency which works on corruption, that is vigilance organization. So we met there one police officer, IPS officer, R.R. Swan, and he handed over a booklet to us that was the RTI Act 2004 of J&K, and he asked us, why don't you work through RTI? Then we started to work through the RTI. Then of course, when we started using RTI Act 2004, in fact, we were getting the information on lower level, but when we knocked the doors of the secretariat and higher offices of the government, we were not getting the information. So then we decided to start a campaign for amendment and strengthening of J&K RTI Act. Then, in fact, our campaign worked, and we were, in fact, the people of J&K were fortunate that we made it, and we got a new act that was called RTI Act 2009. And presently, we are working with that very much strong tool. And day-to-day, you might be aware that we have exposed many scams here, and in fact, now from every corner of all walks of the life, people are using RTI. Students are using their RTI in their results. The rural people are using the RTI to get Indira Awas Yojana, Narega. So, in fact, the government employees are using now RTI to get their deprived rights done. So, I think now we are very much fortunate. In fact, the J&K, it was ranked the number 2 corrupt state in India after Bihar by International Watchdog Agency Transparency International. So I think we needed it very desperately, and we have now this. And presently we are working on education. We train people and we assist people in filing of RTI. In fact, on the every Friday, we assist people. We sit in a Badgaon-based office, and the people visit there and they narrate their issues, and we draft RTI applications for them. And in fact, we are getting things done.
Okay, that is an incredible story. But I would like to ask, you said there is a RTI Act in 2009, but I believe the first time Jammu and Kashmir introduced was in 2004, right? So what's the difference between that and 2009?
In fact, the RTI Act 2004, there were some provisions which were absent. Like we have in 2009 public information officer class. That is the officer designated within the public authority which deals with the application and disseminating the. In RTA 2009 4, it was absent. There was no option of provision of public information officer. Then second provision was missing there. The if government office or public authority doesn't give the information, what will be the punishment for him? That was the penalty. It was also missing in the 2004 Act. And then who will punish, who will penalize the public information officer or public authority? That was the commission. It was also missing. So we started a campaign to incorporate these three provisions. So we got it done in 2009. Right.
Okay, excellent. And can you also tell me whether there is any pushback from the government officials or politicians or anybody else? Because it looks like more and more people are using RTI among students and rural folks.
Yeah, it has empowered the common man. So earlier we have no access to information, no access to public offices because of this Official Secretaries Act 1923. So now people are using, in fact, everywhere. Yeah, of course, there are hindrances, there are obstacles, and in fact the politicians and the corrupt bureaucrats, they in fact they had a mindset that a common man with old clothes and common man from a rural area, he cannot ask me. So this in fact in early times I think initially they felt that what is it law, a common man who asks us, who knocks our doors. So there was some reluctance, but I think the people are changing now. They are ready to now call themselves that they are public servants. So I think now situation has changed.
I see. Excellent. That's a good progress. Before we go more into it, I would like our listeners to understand a little bit more about you personally. You mentioned, you are a medical doctor, right? You are a medical practitioner,
yeah,
and a doctor. Then you are also the RTI convener for the Jammu Kashmir RTI movement. So these are this combination, we don't hear such a combination very frequently. So what kind of inspired you from moving from medical practitioner to J&K RTI Movement convener? And maybe you can tell a little bit more about your background. That will be helpful.
Yeah, because in fact I was working as a medical officer, and of course, as you mentioned that I'm a medical doctor. I was practicing in a village where the culture and the traditions of the village is a very narrow place, and when you stay there for 2-3 months, you start to interact with the people, and everyone now face to face. So it was in 2004 when I was in a village that is in Budgam called Brenwar. It is basically a tribal village near forest. And then after this village, there is no habitation. After this village, it is a very dense forest. And it was, in fact, the last village of the district Budgam. So when I got known to everyone, then the people started telling me their stories about how they have difficulties to get the ration cards, how they have difficulties to get the certificates, tribal certificates, or any other entitlements. So it was the new thing for me because I belong to a well-off family from Srinagar. So I have never heard that the ration card is some issue. So when we started to help them, then there was a family well approached and politically very much strong. So it was the control of their family. Then I decided to get the free these people. It was basically, I can say this was a psychological slavery. So not more than. So people were innocent and they were exploiting their innocency. So I assured them that you have to approach, you can approach to the Tahsildar, BDO, Deputy Commissioner of District. So initially I preached this thing, you can approach. Then when we got the RTI through this police officer, so then we taught them also how to use this. And the first, I remember one young man called Ashraf Jahara, who used the RTA, who asked the first question he wanted to know. In fact, he got the information about the beneficiaries of the ration card. So, there are three categories of ration cards. One is AAY, Antodaya Annapurna Yojana. Then it is BPL, Below Poverty Line. Then APL. So when Ashraf got the information, there were these powerful families named almost 24 or 25 ration cards. Then we got it canceled. So it was a very big moral boost for the villagers that we got it. We can fight the strong people. So then I turned slowly. In fact, then I was transferred to another place and I trained their people. Then I was in fact in a mobile medical service. So I was supposed to go in a new village every day. So till 2 I was conducting the OPD. I was seeing the patient. Then after that, when I was completing the patient, then I was reaching the RTA. So then after the 4-5 years, so I got very much deeply involved. At that time when we were doing the two doctors, one is dental surgeon, basically, now he is a politician, he is in the Aam Aadmi Party, that is Muzaffar Raja Bhatt. And then when he turned a politician, then the people told me that you can be the good organizer, and they elected me, not only the convener, they elected me as the chairman of J&K RTI Movement. And presently I hold this post, and presently we have a very big force, very big cadre. We can say that after MKSS, Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, that is the Aruna Roy's group. So after MKSS, well-organized organization is considered J&K RTI Movement. And I feel the J&K RTI Movement is very much credible because, incredible in fact, because we worked in a conflict where you had the two sides set. That is one, the J&K is a long-pending dispute between Pakistan and India. So both of agencies, they can target you. So, but luckily, fortunately, we made it and we are doing this because we work in between, we work against corruption, we work against misdoing this misappropriation of funds. And so I think this is the story which turned me from the medical to RD activism. So presently I cannot think beyond activism.
I'm trying to picture a medical doctor trying to cure the patient, but also at the same time teaching about the RTI. So that's an incredible sight to me. So great, that's a great thing that you are doing. And I mean, this is, as you mentioned, this is an incredible story. But I also wanted to ask, being a doctor, I mean, and also you mentioned you're from a well-off family. So doing these protests, and I saw some of your pictures, I think you are actively, I don't think anybody can tell that you are a doctor. I'm looking at those pictures. You are on the streets, you are doing protests and for different causes. So how did your family or your friends reacted? You being, an activist, RTI activist, and also, are you still practicing medicine, or you are a full-time RTI activist now?
In fact, I think I will firstly answer the last question. I practice the medicine presently for 2 days.
I see. For 2 days you practice medicine.
Yeah, but it is difficult for me to practice now medicine because I am deeply and highly involved in the issues like corruption and all that you saw in pictures. So it was recently we did a campaign. In fact, that was the Tosamaidan Bachau campaign. Basically, it was here in Kashmir, in central Kashmir district, Ghulam, a huge area. It has a great potential of tourism and all types of tourism. It can be developed as pilgrim tourism, sports tourism, adventure tourism, and it was used by army for fighting purposes, which resulted the loss of 65 lives. So because of these unexploded shells remained over there in the meadows, then when it was heavily raining through floods, rain floods, these littered and unexploded shells came down with the water, and the accident took place whenever a rural child, kid, or anybody stepped on that, and resulted in 65 lives. And then it left more than 100 permanently disabled. Then we started a campaign to locate this fighting range and develop the same as the tourist destination. So these protest pictures, I think this is of this Tosamaidan. Yeah, initially there were very much resistance and objections from the family. In fact, my father and my brothers, in fact, my brothers are very much gentlemen in our society. They even don't speak in louder language, and I was the only who was using protests, all the means to get things done. So yes, they were objecting, and the friends initially they were saying about me that this is hooliganism. So, but today, so they are appreciating my work, my family is appreciating my work, and everyone is appreciating us, and it gives us a moral boost.
Friends, NRI Samay is a non-profit independent alternate media from Los Angeles, USA, which brings positive stories from grassroots activists from all corners of India and across the world. NRI Samay does not rely on corporate funding, and our shows are commercial free. We only rely on your donations. Corporate funded media is driven by the TRP rating, and profits are blurring the distinction between news and entertainment. Why do our news channels talk so much about cricket, movies, accidents, popular figures' personal lives, babies of heroines, gossips, etc., while they should be covering the struggles of people, inequality in our society, rural issues, and border security issues? Why did our media raise some corruption crusaders to the sky on one day and shut them off completely when graft charges were raised on those corporate sponsors? Media relies so much on the corporate funding and government blessings that they cannot report independently. NRI Samay is different. We don't accept funds from any corporations, and hence our shows are commercial free. We completely rely on donations from you. Please consider donating to NRI Samay, and please go to nrisamay.com and donate generously. This is the only way together that we can continue NRI Samay. All donations are kept transparent on nrisamay.com. And if you have any questions, please write to nrisamay@gmail.com.
That is very nice. That now I think they see the value that you are adding to the public, not only just to your close circle, but also to a larger community. And could you expand more about? Is it called Tosamaidan Bachau campaign?
Yeah, basically, I will tell you about the background of Tosamaidan. Tosamaidan is a huge meadow, and basically it has a green forest around. It has a snow-capped mountains. It has streams. It has lakes there, fresh water lakes, so glaciers. So when army used this as firing range, in fact, it was leased out by J&K government to the Indian Army in 1964. I think that's 50 years ago. And people were thinking they have adopted it the part of life. But when it happened, in fact, in this area, when I was transferred in this area as medical officer, when I saw disabled people came to me without legs, without hands, I used to ask them how it happened. They narrated me the story. They were grazing the cattle, they were grazing the cows and bulls, and they got accidentally they stepped on the little shell and it blasted. And then I asked deeply, one village is there near Tosamaidan that is called Shanglipura. When I was there, and I saw there are many orphans, more than 94 orphans they have listed, and 44 widows. So these widows are narrating their stories, how their husbands. Basically, the people of this adjoining Tosamaidan, they had a bounding with the mountains because their economy was dependent on the mountains. Number one, they were grazing the cattle. Number two, they were collecting these wild mushrooms and wild vegetables or some medicinal plants, and that was their main source of economy. And in J&K we have a large unemployment, and the rural, of course, rural life is very much affected by the unemployment. So they used to go these mountains, and unfortunately, many of them, the 65 on record, they lost their lives. And then we started the campaign. We asked the government to cancel this leave, and in fact, we started this campaign in 31st December 2009. Then we were very much successful on 18th April 2014 that this leave got cancelled, and we won the battle. And now we are demanding government to develop the same as tourist destination, because it's a very much beautiful. If you heard about the world famous tourist destination, that is the Ghulam, and it is 50 times bigger and 50 times beautiful than Ghulam.
I see.
So I hope that if the same is developed as tourist destination, it will be world's number one tourist destination. But we demand it as an eco-tourist destination, not the traditional as we use in the Pahalgam and Gulmarg.
Yeah, that's great. But I'm still trying to understand what is this firing range, and why is it close to the people, the normal citizens? And you mentioned about accidents. How do they happen? What kind of accidents are we talking about? Are there any? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So see, the army used the firing arm drill.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a drill.
You got my point.
Okay, so
yeah.
it's a drill.
So they come and yeah. It is drill. Then sometimes it happens. Army uses their many type of this ammunition and arms. That was ground to ground and air to ground. So in ground to ground firing, they use Bofors, heavy artillery forces, mortar shells. So sometimes it happens misfire the target. So it fell somewhere where there are populated area. So accidents took place. But sometimes some shells they didn't blast and they remain unexploded. So main reason was these unexploded shells. When the mountains we get the heavy rain, and after the heavy rain it gets in the form of flood. And this rainwater helps these is basically bowl shaped, and these unexploded shells come down, and it gets stuck somewhere in bush, somewhere in stones, these spontaneous streams. And many times happens when somebody is grazing cattle, and it happens he steps on the shell and it gets lost.
Yeah, that is very sad, because these kind of I'm not an expert in this area. In fact, I don't know much about it. But I would think that these kind of drills happen in a very contained area, where even if somebody misfires, it goes into somewhere where there's no effect to the public, right? It has to be managed within a closed territory, wouldn't you think?
Shri Hari, that this kind of drills, of course, should be there where is the less populated area. Or basically, we have here very huge. In J&K, we have a very huge these barrel lands in Zanskar, in Leh. They can even hold these drills there. And it was very unfortunate thing from the part of our government that they allowed them near to the populated area. Like Tosamaidan is one of the examples. And these firing drills didn't only cause the human loss, but also huge environmental loss. And then we lost these water bodies. We had a very huge amount of the glaciers there, and they melted mostly 80%. And we lost their flora and fauna. We lost their 80% forests almost. So it caused a huge, basically the whole Tosamaidan area it is situated in the Pir Panchal range, mountainous range. And it is a complete biodiversity unit. It caused that. And even the streams, we had there the rainbow, these trout, and we cannot find right now these fishes also there.
I see, that is
so
bad.
It affected even the local. Yeah, it affected local economy. It affected local education, because there are 16 adjoining villages which were when the heavy firing, 80-pound bombs are fired there. And the blast noise of the blasted such a huge noise there. And how can the students study there? And it resulted also the elderly ages, like depression-related diseases, also increases. And 20% of population over there are deaf. They lost their hearing loss. So in fact, now I think we are now lucky that we got it transferred there.
Okay. Can you tell me more about it? How did you guys engage in this movement? And I believe you actually started this movement, but how did you engage the government? And now that they are moving, where are they moving, and how did that happen?
Basically, firstly, we consulted the people there who were some literate people, and we asked them, we can demand this vocation of this land, firing range. So then we mobilized a few people from there, and then their local RTI activists. So we formed a front that is called Tosamaidan Bachau Front. So it was there, some NGOs were there, some Panchayat associations were there, and RTI activists were there. And then we advocated with the government to shift the firing range. It was number one. Number two, we filed an RTI and we got these all agreement documents, lease agreement documents, how it was. So the basic things which they were supposed to do, like environmental clearance each year, human losses if there, and there were not a single certificate were cleared. Not a single certificate was received from such agencies. Like there was no mention of FIRs in the local police station or deputy commissioner's office. Then when we started this campaign, then they registered the deaths which occurred in the firing range. So then, of course, it was here, and then the civil society, whole civil society came in, because the three districts, that is Budgam, Srinagar and Budgam partly, we get water from that area only. And in 50 years, not a single time the water testing was done. So there were many things which don't pertain a civilized government.
I see. So where are they moving now? Where are they going now?
That the government has decided now there is one barrel land. We have heard that is the Ghulam. But I think again that is not a populated area, but in fact whole J&K is a biodiversity unit. It is very much suitable for the ecotourism. But I think in my view, they must move these barrel lands. At least there would be no human loss in the Leh area.
I see. Yeah, I think that makes. I think this is a little better, right, than what you had before.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So, could you tell me what are the other activities you are doing in terms of the RTI movement?
Yeah. In fact, besides we teach and we taught people how to file RTI, and we conduct seminars, workshops, and symposiums. We are very much deeply involved in rural areas, rural life, and we are working on rural health, rural education, rural sanitation, and of course, I am personally very much affiliated with the environment, and this is close to my heart. So I am working on environment also. So this year we have some themes. First is rural development, because the huge money which comes from the center, it gets waste through corruption, and now we are engaged with the rural people how to make accountable these officials and officers, and how to use positively this money which comes from the center. So it is one thing, rural development. Then we have a healthcare. We have a very incredible infrastructure here, but there are some inefficient officials or corrupt officials who cannot properly operate the healthcare, and we are working on now. We started, in fact, to work on the healthcare, and yes, of course, we have here the conversion of agricultural land. So it's a big issue for us, and we are going to start a campaign against this conversion of agricultural land into residential areas, because we have here no concept. The government doesn't have any plan of multiple stories residential houses. So Kashmiris, they build on these single house on agricultural land, which results in the shrinkage of agricultural land. So this is our now main target, to start a campaign against that. And in fact, we have a bill pending for this bill, which is safeguarding the agricultural land. So we are going to work on that also.
Okay, and I know you are also working. You are associated with MKSS, right? Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. So how is that helping you guys in Jammu and Kashmir?
In fact, I think the MKSS is, how can I appreciate the work of MKSS people? So we learn things from MKSS people. In fact, MKSS always worked for us some center of inspiration. Number one. Number two, the school of training. So we are visiting MKSS and MKSS people, Oruna Roy, Nikhil Dey, who taught us how to fight corruption. So they are the role models for us.
Okay, that is very nice to hear. Actually, we recently interviewed Nikhil Dey on a variety of issues, and he was on NRI recently. And I believe Varuna Rai was also there about a year or so ago. So it's great that you are actually connected to the larger organizations, and you are getting you are organized, and then you are getting help from other folks as well. So that's great to know. And especially your personal story has been incredible. I believe, as you mentioned, you came from a well-off family, you were educated, then you became a medical practitioner and a doctor, then you became an activist, and then I believe now you are living in a rural or a tribal area. Is that true?
Yeah, I am living presently in a tribal area, the village called Muzipakar.
I see. That is incredible. I hope you get all the success and you achieve the things that you are fighting for. But before we end the conversation, do you want to say anything? You want to cover anything that I haven't asked you?
Many people, when they hear about me and when they think about me, that directly they imagine that a medical officer, doctor, how he was converted into activism. So, Srihari, I will tell you one thing, that when I'm a medical officer, I can treat people, a single patient, a single disease. But in our country, in our state, the corruption is a big disease and is a systematic disease which had involved whole community. All these conflicts are because of corruption. So I decided to treat that one disease which affects this whole population. So I am satisfied with this life. I'm very much satisfied with life that I am helping such people who are helpless, and I'm very much happy to live with them.
That makes perfect sense to me. With that, we are ending this conversation here. I would really appreciate you spending time and explaining us various things that are happening in Jammu and Kashmir, especially in the RTI activism and also the Tosamaidan Bachau Movement. So thank you very much for spending time with us, and you have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Friends, if you liked today's show, please go to youtube.com/NRI Samay and click on the subscribe button. You will get notified every time we publish a new show. And you can also like us on our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and Google+.